सही डॉक्टर एक्चुअली वो है जो कि आपको आपकी डिजीज़ और आपके ट्रीटमेंट के बारे में ना बड़े सिंपल तरीके से समझा पा रहा है। सही डॉक्टर वो नहीं है जो कि आपको है ना ओवर कॉम्प्लिकेट करके दिखा रहा है चीज़ें, या फिर आपको मतलब डरा रहा है, आपसे ऐसी लैंग्वेज में बात कर रहा है जो कि आपको समझ ही नहीं आ रही। दे शुड बी वेरी केयरफुल ऑफ द फैक्ट दैट हाउ ऑनेस्ट द डॉक्टर इज, यू नो।
Namaskar, I'm Juhi Jain. I am the host of Golden Nuggets. Golden Nuggets is a podcast where we talk to amazing people and have beautiful conversations. These conversations build a lot of perspective, and perspective is something that brings clarity in life. Clarity builds a lot of joy, and joy is something that fills one's heart. Our guest for today is Mohit Choudhary. He's the founder, CEO of Chirayu Hospital. And today we've had a very interesting conversation about Chirayu, plus his inner journey of the work that he's done with Chirayu. So how he has also evolved as a person and the changes that he's brought in himself. It's a beautiful watch, and please do like, share and subscribe. I'm sure every conversation has the power to bring a golden nugget to your lives. So spread it as much. Thank you. Namaskar Mohit.
नमस्कार जी.
Welcome to Golden Nuggets.
Thank you.
How are you feeling today?
Great. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm also looking forward to our conversation.
Yeah.
So I want to begin with understanding Chirayu. You know, what's the core mission? What's the core value of Chirayu Hospital?
Okay. So I'll give you a brief background about Chirayu. So Chirayu is basically a healthcare institute which was started by my family. The idea of Chirayu Hospital came into being in 2012 actually. That was the time I was in my first year of post-graduation. I was doing my MBA from Bangalore. And that was the time my family, they came together and they started a company which ultimately started Chirayu. The founding members of Chirayu were primarily my grandfather, who was a ex-IAS officer also, and my mother's elder brother, and my mother's younger sister, and my mother.
Okay.
So the three siblings started Chirayu in 2000. They started the company in 2012.
And when did you join?
So from 2012 to 2014 was the period where the company was formed, and we identified the land, actual place where we'll start the hospital. And because that land also was not in the right legal format, so it took 1.5 years for us to convert that land. This was the time when I was doing my MBA. And so the two things happened simultaneously: the time I finished my MBA and the time that we were ready to construct the hospital. These two things collided, and finally in 2014 April we could finally start the construction of the hospital, and that is when I joined the hospital.
Oh, you joined in 2014.
I joined in 2014 when the construction was starting.
So from the inception you've been a part of.
Yes. I'm one of the founding directors of Chirayu.
Okay.
And the first CEO of Chirayu.
Okay. And when did you take up the post of CEO?
Right from the day one in 2014. Because my family structure was such that the three of our founding directors, all three of them were doctors. One of the sisters lived in Sikar, which is a town 150 kilometers from Jaipur. So she was running her own business and not a part of day-to-day functioning of Chirayu. And my mother and my mother's elder brother, Dr. Manoj, they were also successful doctors running their own separate businesses. So they were 100% involved in that. So in 2014 when the construction of Chirayu happened, I was the only person who could lead it within the family. And I was the one who had completed my management education.
Correct.
So the job kind of like fell on me directly, and there was like nobody else to do it. So I could do it. Yeah.
Got it.
I got full chance to do it.
But when you all set it up, what was you all set it up with a mission?
Yeah, definitely.
And obviously it would have evolved. So what is the current mission that?
So initially, see, the thing is that the Chirayu's idea came into being because my grandfather, being IAS officer in government of Rajasthan, he had worked in healthcare department almost 15 years of his life. And in that 15 years of his career, he realized like how public healthcare infrastructure fails to actually serve the patients the way they need to be served and deliver quality healthcare. And due to obvious reasons, because the people who are employed within the public healthcare structures, their life purpose is not really to be patient centric. That is not the approach usually they have. And they take it more like a job that they had to do. So because of that, then the patient's life becomes a secondary thing. It is no longer a priority.
Correct.
And hence the quality of healthcare deteriorates. So this is where the biggest pain point what existed, in the public.
Your grandfather saw that.
That is what my grandfather realized. At that time, my uncle and my mother, they were already working in government of Rajasthan as doctors. So they were working in a particular area where they had been serving from last 10, 15 years. So even they were on board with this particular requirement that he had realized. And ultimately their mind met at this particular point, and they started Chirayu to give affordable yet quality healthcare to people of Rajasthan. That was a very simple, single-minded vision that they had.
And it's still there.
Yeah, that is the vision. But obviously we have come to realize quality is a very, very generic term, right? I mean, so quality can mean a number of things. So our definition of quality has evolved over the years, but obviously the focus is still the
हाँ,
quality.
तो ये आप थोड़ा elaborate कीजिए ना. आप जब अब बोल रहे हो क्या quality का definition बदला है, तो वो क्या है?
तो भाई quality का definition जैसे जो earlier quality was a generic word, and we thought कि भाई मतलब what is the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear quality in hospital terms is that you give the right treatment and make the patient feel comfortable, and that's all. But now I have come to realize that transparency and patient's rights. So earlier quality had been from our point of view, like what we thought is quality for the patient.
But now it's more inclusive.
Yeah, it's more inclusive, and now our focus is like what patient wants for itself and whether we are able to match that or not. So that is our criteria for quality, and that is how it has evolved.
Like patients nowadays are aware and they want to know. So so then do doctors answer in that way, and do they inform in that way?
Yeah.
So that is the focus.
Yeah, and usually in India, we know that in corporate private hospital scenario, the patient is like the most lost person on the hospital floor, right? They don't know what is going on,
correct.
And the opaqueness is sort of inbuilt in the system. In order to make the patient keep away from the decision making about their loved ones and all that. So the whole structure is like that. So we are trying to kind of build a counter to that. Build a kind of organization where inclusive decision making happens for the patient.
That is the need of the hour. I think so.
That is true. That is true.
And when you started off, Mohit, you had just passed out. You had just done your MBA. You've done your MBA from ISB. What were the challenges you faced in the earlier days?
So I'm a person who had never seen a hospital before. So my first challenge was very technical, that I needed to from scratch understand what are the various functionalities of a hospital, how to build a hospital, what all things that it entails, and literally trying to understand, like for example, if you're trying to cook a particular recipe, so you need to actually understand like how much ingredients and what all ingredients and in what quantity they would be added. So I needed to get that technical knowledge first. So that was my first challenge that I faced when I started building the hospital.
Correct.
And another big challenge that we as a MSME, as a small business had, was that we had a race against time, and we had limited resources. Like we had to do everything on time because delay was a huge cost for us, and a delay would mean absolute non-viability of the thing. So I needed to get a lot of knowledge and simultaneously apply it in a way that my project gets executed on time. So when we started in 2014, we had a very, very clear mandate that by 2015, like within a period of 12 to 14 months, we need to start the hospital. And hospital is pretty huge construction, like almost 1 lakh square feet of construction.
Correct.
So in 1 year you need to build that, and first of all figure out how to build and what all things it will require, and then procure all those things and
So
then implement that project. Yeah.
No construction background, no hospital background.
No construction background, no hospital background.
No,
Yeah.
none of those. And especially being so young.
And especially and didn't had the ability, the Chirayu didn't had that ability to hire experts, to assist me. So I had to figure it out on my own. Almost everything.
तो mistakes भी बहुत हुई होंगी.
हाँ, definitely mistakes बहुत हुई हैं, but what my approach has been very hands on. Like I get down to the work and I keep like roaming around till I find my answers.
So you started off early. That was an advantage देखा जाए तो, है ना? But do you feel that it was family and it is business and you were just you were brought into it, है ना? Had it not been this, where else can you see yourself? What else would you?
I would be working in I had done my MBA and I had a few job offers. Even in fact, I had signed. I was supposed to join ITC Infotech at that time. I had got placed in that company. But that was the time. So till the time my parents were not sure that Chirayu is going to launch. Till that time, they didn't tell me that this is going to be for you to run. So throughout my MBA, I didn't know that. Throughout my MBA, I was doing my MBA as if that I had to get a good placement and I had to get a good job out of it. That was my aim with MBA. But after my MBA got finished, this option got created, and the land conversion and everything happened the way it was supposed to happen, and the project was about to start. That is when they told me that okay, you have these job options plus also you have this project. So if you join us, then it will be like a mutually beneficial thing.
And you were instantly ready, or you were fearful? Should I do this or should I do that?
No, actually, the thing is that since that movie, that Guru movie came, I was obsessed about becoming businessman.
Okay.
So that was like something that whole movie kind of
inspired you.
Inspired me, you can say. And I realized that the actual control or actual power lies with the people who run big enterprises in the society. So that is what I wanted to do.
It only looks very rosy. And,
definitely. So I do wanted to do that, but at that time and even after that and even till the point I finished my MBA, I didn't have an option of doing a business, right? Because my family doesn't have any other business. So, but this I got the opportunity and I immediately jumped on it.
So like Mohit, I know and I'm aware that you are very actively into learning new things, understanding and exploring different courses, different learnings. So could you tell us more about the courses that you've done in the last few years, and you could also, if you could tell us what are the learnings that have been there through these courses?
So there's actually only one course that I have done, and the other courses are like sort of like second or third module of the same line of courses. And that course also I had never planned to do, because after doing my MBA I thought that I'm done with courses because I didn't had any other, and I've learned quite a lot from my MBA journey. So I thought that theoretically I am pretty ready. And of course, the technical things you can only learn as per the requirement, right? So in order to run a hospital, there is a lot of technical things that you need to know about the disease of the patient. So all those things I learned on the need basis. Whenever the need arrived, I read about it or I Googled it, and I found my answers, whatever I was looking for. But in 2018, at the time of COVID, that was the time I was talking to one of my friend Mrinal about how can I grow Chirayu to the next stage, to the next level, and he had suggested a course called CEP to me. So that is when I did my CEP. It started by the
what's the full form of CEP?
CEP is called Conscious Entrepreneurship Program. It is offered by SKC World. And basically it's an entrepreneurship program which uses consciousness to deliver the results that we are looking for. That is financial reward and joy at the same time. So we are all looking for these two basic things, and so the CEP is designed to deliver that.
So you did that. You have started implementing it. When did you do it?
So I did my CEP in 2021. and CEP is basically the CEP program that I did was designed around, so in CEP, how we define an organization is, in terms of 4 pillars on which the organization stands. And those 4 pillars are basically your founder, and then sales, the people, the HR, human resource that you have, and the operations that you carry out. So my CP covered the founder pillar and the people pillar, the HR aspect of my organization, and this course I did in 2021.
So क्या learnings क्या रही और क्या implement किया और क्या लगा? If you're talking about consciousness, how are you bringing it in your organization?
So it's necessary because see, organization, contrary to what the popular narrative is, an organization is not about delivering numbers or delivering a certain form of result. Organization is basically people who are working together. So once you start seeing people, organization as a bunch of people, then you start understanding that the thing that people are most influenced by are their emotions. So and if those emotions are not in the right place, or right emotions are not getting produced, then it is impossible to sort of make them work in a way where they achieve the result as well as they achieve it in a joyful manner.
But at least in the hospital segment and medical segment, the doctors, the nurses, they all need to have that joyfulness.
Definitely.
Their emotions and their thing needs to be driven by joy, I think. So that is something.
Yeah, that is very true, because these people have to interact on a very long in very long hours with the patient, right? So how joyful they are or how satisfied they are would ultimately determine the patient experience. So that is the biggest challenge, actually.
So how
and that is why this the consciousness, the concept of consciousness is so much applicable here, because until unless your team is not up to the mark, you can never deliver the quality that you imagine in your head.
So that was the reason you thought consciousness is necessary at the founder level first, at the CEO level, and maybe then it trickles down to the others. But how do you then implement it?
So there are many concepts in CEP. CEP is actually it provides us with practical tools that one can implement, and then there is a general philosophy around it.
Got it.
Okay, so the general philosophy around it has changed my own perspective of how I run the organization. Earlier, what I used to do is I was very much result focused, and I thought that success is only like delivering results in terms of numbers, and that too in a very short run. And it doesn't matter like till the point that those results come, it doesn't matter how they came. So that was my approach as an entrepreneur initially, and obviously this approach is very much driven by the fear that I had, because initially we started as a very young organization opened by a middle class family. So there's a lot of pressure of financial pressures and EMI pressures and all that. So because we were in a survival mode, we ran the organization in a way where we had to deliver the numbers no matter in how and what means we used to deliver it. So CEP made me understand how these results do not matter if if the organization and the people who are delivering it, they are not able to fulfill their own personal objectives or goals through these your company's results. So if this alignment is not there, then this cannot be consistently delivered, and this kind of a thing would ultimately lead you to face a lot of hiccups in the business, in your business journey. So that is what I realized, that it's a very human centric game, and it's about, at the end of the day, happier people. If you have happy employees, then obviously you'll have a happy client.
A happy leader will create happy employees, and happy employees in your case would then create happier patients, patients recovering faster with a better experience, I think. So
and trust gets built.
Trust gets built. I have a question on trust. What are the critical parameters that ensures that a hospital is trusted,
So see, first thing is transparency. Transparency is not something that you can achieve. Transparency is something that you constantly need to strive for. Like, you can keep getting more and more transparent.
Correct.
right? There's no absolutely transparent scenario, right? You need to, and you need to do it with each and every new patient that walks in. So even if you were like absolutely transparent till now, you have to again be transparent for the next patient that comes.
Correct.
It is not something that you can like achieve.
It has to be in a system, I think, that
Yeah.
everyone needs to know within the system that we need to apply the transparency to every patient.
I mean, only then you can, at the end of the day, the idea is to impact the employees so that they can impact the patients.
Correct.
But as a hospital, the most important element in healthcare is to build trust, is what you asked, is to be transparent. If you are able to tell everything to the patient, and obviously we are talking about medical science here. So, and science is a very, very logical and rational area, and you can actually tell the patient that, these are the things that you are trying to achieve through your treatment methodology. These are the downsides, these are the upsides. This is the approach, what it is hoping to achieve, and what can go wrong. So, so about all these treatment related aspects, if you are able to transparently convey to the patient and let the patient take the decision, empower the patient, and let the patient then choose. So if that kind of approach is adopted, then the trust is like tremendously high.
एक तो fear create करके बोले और एक अपन पूरा knowledge दें, and then we say that this is what you मतलब it's your choice now.
It's your choice, right? Empowering the patients, which we try to achieve every time. We know that we need to do that. Now, obviously, there are practical reasons for which this kind of a thing might not be achieved in every patient. But as far as you are conscious of what you want to deliver, then you can keep striving for it.
What are the challenges that you face as the CEO of a hospital?
So there are quite a lot of challenges.
Top one or two challenges.
Like for example, the biggest challenge that we feel running a hospital is that society has somehow, because overall the private hospital sector has been so much fear and greed driven, that patient have taken hospitals as as places where if they enter, then there's no end of it. Like they would end up losing a lot of money, and they might lose their health also. So that is the reason why most of the people, even if I ask you that would you want to enter a big Fortis or Narayana kind of hospital, then you would not like it. Only when you are absolutely required to, when there is no other option, then only you would like to go to a hospital, right? So because of this kind of a mistrust, and this gets then applied to all the hospitals, right? Because even if a new hospital is kind of not doing what the others are doing, but the patients would initially judge them through the same lens. So one of the biggest challenges is to overcome that. On day-to-day basis, we face people where they are not completely trusting us initially. So in order to so you need to counsel the patient and treat the patient in a way where that trust gets built, and that is the most difficult part.
The most challenging part is also trust.
And second thing, that in Indian scenario, what happens is that people are not as I would say aware, educated, to understand the clear picture, right? And they are not ready for it also sometimes. So that is another thing that running a hospital in and serving the rural masses of Rajasthan, that is another challenge where you are not able to, sometimes because of the patient's inability to understand the treatment part or the technical part, you are not able to be completely transparent with them.
I thought of that point as well, that because उतनी understanding ही नहीं है, in-depth understanding, तो आप transparent होके भी क्या ही कर
So in that case, obviously you need to tell the broader things, right? You can't get too deep into the treatment. You just tell them in simple language that these are the things, these are the options that your treatment is presenting to. Right? If you can't explain the treatment to a person, then you explain what treatment will do, and then let them choose. So obviously the level of transparency depends on the kind of patient. Like for example, if a highly educated urban society patients come to me, then I can tell him the intricacies and various things that if we do as a part of treatment, what impact it would make. And he might understand that, and he might be interested in that. But there might be some other patient who's not at all interested in that. He just wants what kind of result my treatment would produce. He just wants to know that. So obviously we'll only tell that much.
That much.
Yeah.
So majorly you all attend to the rural population.
Yeah, being located on the outskirts of Jaipur, on Jaipur-Jodhpur highway, although 60-70% of our patients do come from Jaipur district, but they are not city patients. They are patients from the rural part of Jaipur, the outskirts of and the so-called Jaipur rural area.
So any interesting case study or any interesting patient you would like to talk about?
The usual story, and this is not like just one story that I can recollect, but most of the time what we face and the aha moment that we are able to create, and the reason why Chirayu grew the way it grew is because when these patients land up in our hospital and when they see that what they're offered, they just can't believe it. So the potential difference is huge. I mean, the treatment that they're being offered and the price at which they're being offered that makes them most of the time think that, this is like starkly different from what they were earlier being offered. And they just can't believe it.
So they think ये सही भी है कि नहीं है.
हाँ, so ये सही भी है कि नहीं है, और दूसरा मतलब है ना, they are able to they sometimes regret कि भाई हम लोग पहले यहाँ पे क्यों नहीं पहुँच पाए, या फिर है ना हम तो वो आहा मोमेंट हम लोग क्रिएट कर पाते हैं. और ऐसा नहीं कि ये कोई कोई बहुत बड़े इनोवेशन का रिजल्ट है. इट इज जस्ट बाय बीइंग ऑनेस्ट and being fair and transparent. Just by being that, you are able to achieve that, because the system is that convoluted. So because most of these patients, they are experiencing the public sector and they are coming to us. None of them are able to afford the Fortises and the Manipals of the world, right? So they are not coming from that background. So first of all, their problem only didn't get solved where they were earlier, the hospitals that they earlier visited. So their central problem gets solved, and they get the benefits of various government schemes, and they're able to get the cashless treatment without paying anything. So this is something, smoothly, and with the approach where we consciously target the waiting time of the patient. So our tagline is fast, affordable, reliable. Fast is one of the most crucial elements of our delivery system, where we are able, we track the waiting time of the patient at various stages, and we actively work on reducing that waiting time. So where the average length of stay in the industry is around 4 to 5 days in a hospital. In our hospital, we try to keep our average length of stay, ALOS, that is the term being used in the industry for that, to around 3 days. Where in the industry it is around 4.3 to 4.4.
But it's normally 4.5 days.
It's 4
to 5
days. 4 to 4.5 days is the industry average.
Okay.
And in our hospital, we try to keep it within 3 days.
Got it.
We try to discharge the patient fast. And if that happens, and that is what everybody wants, right?
That's a big
Even
one.
if the hospital is a swanky corporate hospital, you would want to get discharged fast.
You want to go home.
Hospital is not a hotel that you want to stay more, right?
However good it is, you still want to just be home with that.
Yeah. So the biggest comforting factor for a patient is to get discharged early, and that is what we aim to achieve, and that also lets us manage our costs, and then we are able to provide predictable pricing to the patient. For example, if I know that I'm going to discharge the patient within 3 days, I know that this is the kind of cost I'm going to incur to treat the patient, then I'm able to offer the patient a package, accordingly, and that too in the first hour of the admission.
So then that builds transparency and trust.
That builds transparency. That if I tell the patient that you are going to be spending 40,000 rupee throughout your stay of this thing, then he knows that it cannot go 40,000 rupee also. It won't happen. It will be lesser than that only.
I think then you must be getting a lot of referral business.
Yes, being a tertiary center, and so in healthcare, tertiary means that wherever your life might be in danger. So the departments like cardiology or cancer care or neurology or ICU care. So these are the things which fall under tertiary care, where the patient's life is in danger. So Chirayu's focus, and more than 50% of its revenue comes from tertiary care, and tertiary care centers always get their patients through some primary or secondary center. Patients usually don't walk into a tertiary hospital. Correct. They are already getting treated somewhere, and because that particular facility is not able to treat that patient to that extent, they refer the patient to a higher center, and that is when we come into picture. So this part also, the trust of smaller hospitals in Chirayu also matters, right? From that point of view, because only then they would give their patients to us.
What's your 5-year plan for Chirayu?
One of the biggest and the most logical things for Chirayu to do as of now is to invest majorly into the technologies and in capabilities which re-emphasizes this image of a tertiary care center, and that requires you to invest in cancer treatment technologies and robotic technologies and AI based technologies. So that is part of our mission, where in next 5 years we want to develop certain capabilities which are one of the best in, at least in India. So that is one part, and the second part is that we want to invest majorly into skilling the manpower and enriching our human resource. So we are investing into starting paramedical institutes and medical institutes where we are training doctors and paramedic staff, the Chirayu way of doing things, right? And then we sort of consume that same trained manpower in our hospital, which helps us reduce the cost, at the same time help us get the right
Correct.
kind of
Oh, this is beautiful. In fact, the next part of my question was going to be that, because as you mentioned conscious entrepreneurship, you also mentioned happy employees, and that's how even we function in our organization. So from that, then we obviously need to train people, skill side, of course, technical skill and all of that, but also the softer side, and also the emotion part, the consciousness part, the awareness bit. So then obviously then you've answered that. It's tough, I understand that, because काम करते हुए वो समय निकालना, it is very very tough.
See, hospital is basically two things, right? One part is your treatment, like whether your disease got treated or not.
Correct.
That's one part. And this part is solved in today's times. It is solved by technology the most.
Correct.
Like the treatment capabilities that you have, whether you have the radiotherapy for cancer treatment or not, whether you have stem cell therapy or not, whether you have robotics or not. So these are pure capabilities that you would be able to gain if you invest in the right technologies.
Correct.
And second part is the experience a patient has in a hospital. So one thing is that he needs to be treated well. The disease needs to be treated, and the patient needs to get rid of the disease. And second part is the experience that the patient has while he's in the hospital. So that is why the focus of the next 5 years is also these two things, where on one hand we focus on developing our manpower so that we are able to deliver the right patient experience, and at the same time invest in the right treatment technologies so that we are able to build those capabilities where we actually deliver the kind of tertiary care which is available, the best possible tertiary care which is available in India.
So this is something separate, like a training center that you're planning to develop?
Yes, we have already started a training institute.
Oh.
It's a paramedical institute where we are already running 6 different courses.
And who are these people who are getting trained?
These are 12th pass students who then appear in an exam which is conducted by Government of Rajasthan.
Okay.
Government of Rajasthan has a body called RPMC, Rajasthan Paramedical Council. They conduct a Pan Rajasthan exam, and the people who clear this exam, they are able to get admission in these courses. And these are government recognized courses, degree courses. And these courses are like dialysis technician, OT technician, cath lab technician, CT technician. So these are very important and good paying jobs, basically.
And within the hospital you have the training center?
Yeah, within the hospital. It's part of the same campus. Yeah.
Wow, this is brilliant.
So right now we are training more than 300 students in these 6
courses. Do most hospitals have this?
Most hospitals should have this, but I don't think most hospitals have this. Only the bigger hospitals maybe have this. And also we are coaching postgraduate doctors also. So we are giving post graduation in anesthesia and orthopedic surgery. We also have we are a recognized NB, National Board of Education recognized DNB institute, where we are we right now have 8 students who are getting trained in our hospital to become anesthetists and orthopedicians.
A lot of times I wonder, the nursing staff, how do they stay motivated to do something that it's a painful job, right? Seeing the patients suffering and certain people are scared of injections, certain people are pain very high, they are in a very high pain zone. So nursing staff को कहाँ से motivation आती है day in day out doing the same thing?
See, nursing is a profession where the people who are having a sense of dedication can only survive. You need to have मतलब एक सेवा भाव का feeling आपके अंदर होना चाहिए,
पड़ेगा, हाँ.
तभी आप नर्सिंग प्रोफेशन में जा सकते हो. और नर्सिंग प्रोफेशन में डेफिनेटली पेशेंट की हर तरह के एस्पेक्ट को इग्नोर करके, पेशेंट के बिहेवियर को इग्नोर करके, पेशेंट के मतलब आपको पेशेंट कैसा ट्रीट कर रहा है उस चीज़ को आप इग्नोर करके, उन सब चीज़ों को इग्नोर करके यू हैव टू सर्व द पेशेंट, राइट. सो दैट ऑब्वियसली इज़ अ चैलेंज, बट ग्लैडली इन इंडिया आई मीन यू वुड फाइंड एक्सेलेंट नर्सेज. दैट इज़ वन ऑफ द थिंग्स दैट आवर कंट्री इनहेरेंटली हैज़. That you'll find very good nurses, and their focus is a lot on patients, and ultimately we as an institute, we also want to build a lot of training for the nurses so that they are able to develop this softer aspect.
It's necessary because
it's necessary.
हो सकता है आपके अंदर सेवा भाव हो, लेकिन करते करते भी आपको
बिल्कुल you have to be absolutely professional while working on a floor as a nurse, right?
Correct.
And you don't get to sit like they do 10 hours duties without sitting at, even for a second.
And that they know before the job.
They do know. Yeah.
So another thing that is again my personal curiosity, or I do face the dilemma, while deciding for a doctor or a hospital or certain surgery that you've been asked to, or critical illness, how does one decide या कौन से हॉस्पिटल को चूज़ करें, कौन से डॉक्टर को चूज़ करें? एक तो हो गया रेफरल, क्या किसी का रेफरेंस मिल गया, इसके हम भी गुजरे थे इस पर्टिकुलर चीज़ से, एंड दिस डॉक्टर इज़ वेरी गुड, उनके पास चले जाओ. अगर वो नहीं हो, या नॉन मेडिकल बैकग्राउंड फैमिलीज़ वेयर दे डोंट अंडरस्टैंड ऑल ऑफ दिस वेरी वेल, उनको पता नहीं है, तो कैसे पहुँचे सही डॉक्टर तक?
तो सही डॉक्टर एक्चुअली वो है जो कि आपको आपकी डिजीज़ और आपके ट्रीटमेंट के बारे में ना बड़े सिंपल तरीके से समझा पा रहा है. सही डॉक्टर वो नहीं है जो कि आपको है ना ओवर कॉम्प्लिकेट करके दिखा रहा है चीज़ें, या फिर आपको मतलब डरा रहा है, या फिर आपको मतलब आपसे ऐसी लैंग्वेज में बात कर रहा है जो कि आपको समझ ही नहीं आ रही. सही डॉक्टर जैसे कि मतलब हमारे एक्स प्रेसिडेंट मतलब APJ अब्दुल कलाम जी ने कहा था कि भाई मतलब जिनकी फाउंडेशन रियली स्ट्रांग होती है, दे आर एबल टू एक्सप्रेस द मोस्ट कॉम्प्लेक्स फिनोमिनाज इन द मोस्ट सिंपलेस्ट ऑफ द वेज, एंड दैट इज हाउ यू जज अ डॉक्टर ऑल्सो. Whether doctor might be highly qualified, might read a lot of jargons in 10-12 years of their education, but when they talk to patient, they should be able to talk to the patient in their language and tell them exactly what they understand, and give them options in a way where for the patient it's a very simple choice.
So for the patient then it makes sense to meet multiple doctors and then make the decision. Well, critical illness लंबे समय तक उनके साथ रहना है, या कोई सर्जरी है तो भी एक लंबा प्रोसेस है.
And another criteria that one should consider while choosing a doctor is whether they should be very careful of the fact that how honest the doctor is, whether whatever they have said before, whether that has actually turned out to be true or not. Or whether they were talking or talking for any other purpose, or whether they were actually talking to give you clarity or not. So that part, honesty is one of the things, and second thing is that their grip on the subject matter and their grip on the disease would be reflected by how simply they are able to explain about the disease and about the treatment. That is, I would say, the best kind of doctors are.
I was reading some document on like Chirayu के through आया हुआ while I was doing some research. तो उसमें mention था कि how every 1,000 beds पे 1,000 people पे 1 bed होना चाहिए allocated, and how कुछ नंबर पे कितने पैथ लैब्स होने चाहिए, है ना. तो that number was very astonishing. मुझे लगता था यार इतने पैथ लैब्स खुल रहे हैं, कैसे चलता होगा, इतने हॉस्पिटल्स खुल रहे हैं. सो वो नंबर थोड़ा बता पाओगे? एवरी 1,000 में
जो WHO के स्टैंडर्ड्स हैं वो ये कहते हैं कि 1,000 लोगों की पॉपुलेशन पे एक मतलब हॉस्पिटल बेड होना चाहिए. बट इंडिया इज ऑब्वियसली लाइक फॉलोइंग वे बिहाइंड.
तभी COVID.
So for example, like if you require one bed for every 1,000 population, India probably has one bed for 10,000 population.
हाँ,
So it's like nowhere near the
way
WHO
behind.
standards.
हाँ, but
Yeah.
as layman, as people,
But at the same time, if you see, this number is actually overshooting in certain areas, like urban areas and urban centers. There's
it's
you would
overpopulated.
yeah, it's overpopulated. You would probably have a hospital bed on maybe 500 people. But in certain far-flung areas, you would not have it even in 20,000 people.
So to identify those is the main thing and be there. So like I think Chirayu did that. Like us belt mein maybe there wasn't any hospital. And
Unconsciously, we did that.
and it turned out to be the correct one. When you look at your journey of 10 years, what would you say about your journey? How do you feel?
Matlab, I couldn't have had more fun. I had more fun that I could have ever imagined in 2024.
Building this up.
Building this up. So there was a lot of learning, lot of pressure, and I was able to overcome the kind of things which I had never experienced before. So in order to face those things and then go through that struggle and then being able to overcome that. And now because we are talking after all these, this has happened. So obviously I would call it, exciting. That is the word that I would use. That I had a lot of fun building Chirayu. Although there was a lot of struggle, but everything was a great learning experience. And we did much better than what we had thought initially. Like because the kind of background we were coming from, we had no experience. In my whole family, there was not even a single experience of running a business. So we thought that okay, if we survive and if we are able to meet our cost, that itself was success for us, and that is what we were aiming for actually. But we could grow leaps and bounds, and Chirayu is now one of the fastest growing hospitals in Jaipur. We have been able to grow our revenue maybe 8 times in 8-9 years.
Wow.
Almost 800% growth in 9 years.
Wow.
So that is like that was never part of the plan, and we never aimed for that kind of a thing. So that also tells you whatever you plan for it doesn't actually matter. Whatever you plan for yourself.
It just
If you let it happen, then it might be much better than what you had actually.
Like just this morning I was thinking of that things just keep happening and we think we are the ones doing it. But even I felt the same thing that like you said, it's just happening. The universe plants that idea. Like you said, unconsciously हम लोग उधर जाके we had the hospital there where there were none other hospitals. So it was very unconscious move. अब वो unconscious move कहाँ से आता है भाई? कुछ तो है ना. There is
something conspiring.
Something conspiring क्या वहीं जाके वो होना तो. There is a bigger plan. There is the universe has its own way.
The part of unknown is actually much bigger than what we know and what we can control. So being conscious of that, after being conscious of that, then you should let it be.
Let it be.
And try to live the day actually. If you keep living the day, each day to the best of its potential, then ultimately it will add up into something good. And at least you have to hope for that, right?
Okay, so let's come to the last part. That's the golden nuggets round. So Mohit, what's the first thing you do when you arrive at the hospital each morning?
The first thing I do is I take a round through the hospital, to the hospital floor. I try to visit each and every patient.
So they know you?
They don't know me, but I know that these patients are there. But so usually I don't introduce myself. I just take like a sort of like a passive observatory round.
Biggest misconception people have about the hospital management?
That can only be done by doctors. That is the biggest misconception. Actually, it has nothing to do with medical science, and it's actually much better if you are not a doctor. I'm not saying doctors can't do it, but the medical education per se has nothing to do with it.
If you weren't in healthcare, what career would you have chosen?
So I think I was going towards IT before I landed up in healthcare. So I think that is where I would have landed up.
One word to describe your leadership style.
Now it is much more participative.
Most innovative technology you've recently introduced in your hospital?
We are one of the only hospitals in Rajasthan which is completely paperless. So we don't have, usually when you go to a hospital, you see a lot of IPD files and, lab reports. Correct, and things like that. Every patient carry a file around. In our hospital, that doesn't happen. Everything is digitized. and the whole hospital works on a set of computers, and the whole file, the patient file, is completely digitized. So ours is a paperless hospital.
So doctors and everyone just make a note on the computer.
Yeah, the whole hospital works on on various tabs. There are like total 30 tabs that we use for our 130 bed setup.
Favorite way to de-stress after a long day?
I play basketball, so that is my favorite way to de-stress. Yeah.
If you could have had dinner with any healthcare leader or any leader, past or present, who would it be?
I think I'd like to have dinner with Dr. Devi Prasad Shetty, who's founder of Narayana. Okay. Because he is one of the earliest people to bring down this cost of cardiac surgery to what it is in India today.
Okay.
Right? I mean, earlier the cardiac surgery used to be maybe 4 times of what it was. What it is to do, the cost of cardiac surgery, it costed around 4 to 5 lakh rupees. But now it has come down in India to 1.5 to 2 lakh rupees. And the Narayana was the first institute to do it, and everybody else later followed. So that's a huge achievement. Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah. And there are many other things also, like that Chirayu has got inspiration from Narayana actually. This training of and developing your own very specific HR resource is also something that Narayana has done with their institute. They have their own set of training institutes where they get in-house staff.
It's about picking up the things that inspire and then picking up and implementing. That's the whole idea in life.
Yeah.
And I think that you're doing very beautifully.
Yeah, thanks.
The 3 main key takeaways from today's conversations are, Mohit talks about quality. So in the healthcare industry, what does quality mean? Quality means empowering the patient. उनको उनकी लैंग्वेज में नॉलेज इम्पार्ट करना. सो सेकेंड थिंग दैट मोहित स्पोक अबाउट वॉज ट्रस्ट. ट्रस्ट कैसे बिल्ड होता है? व्हेन द पेशेंट गेट्स द नॉलेज in his own language, when the doctor imparts it in a layman's language. So trust build hota hai. And second point is transparency. If the patient gets to know everything that is happening, it kind of builds a lot of trust. And the third thing that Mohit also said, and it was a big key takeaway for me, was about the paperless technology that they use in the hospital. It is a very digitized method. अब इसके क्या benefits होते हैं? Patients के लिए their records are maintained in a beautiful manner for a very long term. And second benefit is easily the flow of information happens. So उसके कारण उनकी treatment बहुत फटाफट होती है. उनको बहुत फास्ट सब चीज़ों का ट्रीटमेंट मिलता है. एंड टू द हॉस्पिटल उनकी ऑपरेशनल एफिशिएंसी तो नेक्स्ट लेवल हो जाती है. सो दीज आर द 3 की टेकअवेज. सो थैंक यू मोहित. वी हैड अ वेरी वेरी interesting, good conversation. How are you feeling after the
great
conversation?
I had a lot of fun actually. So, and your style of questioning is such that you feel like sharing.
It's very kind of you. So namaskar.
Thank you.